You can't keep taking our country, on routes that when they are judicially reviewed, it turned out to be reckless, irresponsible, and of course out of order. That does not communicate, a decent and civilized republic. And that is why we continue to argue that the rescue government was mostly expected to be very experienced in the discharge of its governance duties and responsibilities, but we continue to see the contrary across different aspects of governance and leadership. This is the same government that's supposed to demonstrate utmost competence when it comes to understanding of governance and the system, right? The system of our governance and all that. Unlike the CDC, first of its kind in 2018, taking power, and dominated by mostly governmentally inexperienced people. A lot of them have not had the opportunity at the highest level in governance, so they could be excused to some extent, unlike the Unity Party, dominated by elements that served 12 years, some, up to 12 years in governance and all of that, and have been around, have handled and managed several issues, but to be performing this dismally, right, is quite revealing of a hidden agenda, different from the desire and the passion to serve. So people are not around here for service. They're here for other things. That's what they're missing. They're missing a whole lot on the issue of governance and leadership. So that is with the Yeke Koluba situation. Hmm? Sano Johnson made a very staggering revelation that I think we shouldn't pass over. In the face of this debate about meritocracy being thrown through the window, meaning that in today's Liberia, in the rescue Liberia, issues about merit is no longer, the subject on the governance conversation table, right? Partisan loyalty, tribal association, regional connection have dominated the reasoning and conclusion of the Boakas administration. It continues to show its ugly hairs everywhere, whether it's in awarding contracts, whether it's in making decision on political appointments, or it's on consideration for national events and national programs. People that are most likely considered for these things have got to be a ruthless partisan loyalist to Mr. Joseph Boakai or the Unity Party regime. And this we believe fundamentally undermine the principle of our constitution and the laws of the country. So, and people are continuing to come out. And mostly it's happening with those who demonstrated unflinching support and loyalty. It went radical. They went to the extreme of blackmailing, joining the bandwagon of blackmail, and of course, a political character assassination just to have Mr. Boakai as president of the republic. And today he became president, and he has turned his quote unquote tribal, latches on the very people or extreme political demagoguery attitude towards the people. He sees himself most likely as a political demagogue, and of course, you have to bow down before you can get served. And the later victim is Sano Johnson. Remember, Sano Johnson was appointed as liaison to the Senate, right? But what happened? What not happened? Sano Johnson is smart. Sano Johnson said that was a political showmanship. He's not getting the worth of his political contribution to the rescue government and the Boakas presidency. And he believed this is happening. These are awards we're going to play right here. At Sano Johnson level, if you see Sano Johnson yelling and ranting that I will not bend down for anybody, for people to give me contract, blah, blah, this is revealing. This is scary. Are there other requirements than merit, competence, qualifications, and of course experience to get job in this government or to get contract? that we did not know before now. Let's listen to Sandro Johnson. I know a lot of our folks, that genuinely dancing in the poo water for this rescue thing feel very embarrassed every time we're bringing these very disturbing revelations and all that. Okay, listen to Sandro. Kwame County Sandro.
Are the Unity Party people, are they ungrateful? They are, I just told you, they do not appreciate God. They believe that this government is only for them. So nobody should survive. I am not going to take out my clothes. I'm not going.
This is Sandro Johnson. This is not coming from a new opposition character. This is not coming from a new critic of the government. This is coming from a man that was inside, that sacrificed every little he had, right? When he was on all of the different loudmouth political conversation around here, chastising, harassing, and of course, leading the bandwagon of domestic slave terrorism against the regime of the past. Bring them down. CDC must calm down. They do not deserve to be in for the Unity Party. The men say this government they brought to power is not following the principles of good governance and democratic practices in governance. Rather, right?
No to anybody. I'm not going to sleep with anybody, be a man or woman. Because
you listen? Well, what sleeping with people got to do with this? At Sandro is telling you that to a large extent, this is revealing. The man is saying that people are requiring that men sleep with men to get contract and get job in the country. This is scary. This is absolutely scary. The government has to come out and say something about this. The folks at the Ministry of Information will need to address this. This is demeaning. This is absolutely. I don't know where the reverends, the pastors, the imam, where they whenever these kinds of conversations are coming up, and they don't find a moral urge to say something and restate the ethical, moral position of the state in regards to these things. And this man is saying, should any Liberian be subjected to something like this before they can get contract in their own country? What are you doing? This is bad. This is how dangerously the Unity Party is carrying our country.
no, I will not get involved into funny.
That's somebody's grandpa here. That's somebody's grandpa here. You look at somebody's grandpa and you're subjecting them to bending down low to get contract. This is absolutely embarrassing. I mean, this thing here, I don't know, but Sandro is saying this, right? Right? Sandro Johnson is saying this. We'll try to get Sandro to come and explain this further, right? And the man said in his own country, the government that he suffered for, the government that he did everything for, and politics that interest, he went and bid for a contract with some partners. They deny him. Is it because he took a constitutional decision to collaborate with the CMC? So under the Unity Party, by aligning with other established political organization in the country means you have lost your right, and you can be denied constitutionally guaranteed privileges because you're opposition. And this is the same thing that happened with Yahya Koluba case. He's stripping the man of his right. And the only reason is because the man's an opposition to you. That's not what the law says. That's not how the law treats this matter. You have to be sure, right? How do you feel this morning?
They are ungrateful. They are very ungrateful. I just told you. They won the election. We decided to go in the private sector to be able to build the capacity of Liberia. And we were denied because my name is Sandro Johnson. I have been officially joined the CDC.
So they're targeting people in the private sector. You leave. You say, so I'm going into the private sector to establish myself and try to do something and take advantage of the opportunity that are supposed to be available there, right, and build. But they come back again and go after you in the very private sector. And this is going to take us into something with regards to this whole liberalization stuff, right? And a comment made by MPC political leader. So you see, this man at this high level former Senator Bomi County, and a staunch supporter of the rescue mission. Then I don't know what he has turned to now, but then it was a rescue mission, right? A cloud of deception, and they deceive our people into believing that this was some kind of magical rescue that was going to happen in this country. Ever since the king, we've just been seeing violations after violations, disrespect for the laws after disrespect for the law, and abuse of power, right? As challenging as the presidency of a third world country like Liberia is, this is the first president that's just getting fat and expanding and shining in the presidency, doing the most difficult and challenging movement: global crisis, domestic challenges, revenue shrinking, and of course, lots of difficulties going on in the country. But yet still, you see the president is expanding in his morphology. He's wearing branded clothes. This is communicating something, right? Insensitivity on the part of the president. Is the president really paying attention to the things that are happening around him in the country? Is the president really concerned and paying attention to these things? And it's important for the president to pay attention, because once the president is paying attention, then that's how he's going to push his lieutenants to deliver on the objective of his agenda. But once the president is not, the president is okay and being taken care of and doing everything he's doing, and he's flying wherever he wants to. He's wearing he's branded clothes, which I don't have a problem with. But for the most part, what is the president's priority? When people cry and say no current to redemption, they say bother the president. No water in the city, parts of the city, 3 months, city 2 months, no water. Does it bother the president? LEC has been off and on. Hospitals are going out of electricity, doing critical medical procedure processes, and citizens are losing their lives. Human beings dying every day. Does it bother the president? In the midst of all of that, right? The Swedish pull out. How you call it? The Americans pull out. Right? All of those things, in the midst of all these challenges, you're not seeing a man growing, older in a way, but you see the man is just getting big. I mean, like a man who really not paying attention to the country, paying attention to the realities in the country. But that is for you to look at and for you to think about. But this was Sando Johnson. And this is going to take me finally, and then I'll go to the phone lines and hear your thoughts on these, and then we'll go to our major conversation around the happenings from the court and all of that, right? So the political leader of the opposition movement for progressive change, Simeon Freeman, right, said this about the VP Kun. Last week, I also came down a little hard and felt that the manner in which the VP Kun was proceeding with this whole liberalization thing was on the surface, and of course, it wasn't really addressing the core issues, the real issues that need to be dealt with. No, to create basically to create opportunity for those of the grassroots down there. The approach the VP and the regime is taking is ineffective to achieving that objective. Ineffective. It cannot. It will not yield no result. It's just a showmanship, political, showboating expedition. It's not going to go. It's not going to yield anything. Kun is just going to have an opportunity to reconnect and elevate his business friends that already been there and what have you. But this is how MPC, a Liberian businessman, right, and of course a political leader, Simeon Freeman, labels the Bwaka Kun liberalization draft. Say it's a farce. FARCE. Say Simeon Freeman, political leader of the movement for progressive change, has sharply criticized the liberalization approach being advanced by President Joseph Numa Bwaka and Vice President Jeremiah Kun, describing the policy push as a farce that will fail to to economically empower ordinary Liberians. And I agree. And I will tell you why I agree. In a statement posted on his official Facebook page, Freeman argued that recent meetings between the government and local manufacturers regarding enforcement of Liberia's 2010 liberalization laws are based on flawed policies that cannot produce meaningful change. Flawed policy that cannot produce meaningful change. According to Freeman, even if manufacturers comply with the law by appointing Liberians as distributors of locally manufactured goods, foreign business interests could still maintain control of the distribution network by using Liberian funds. Few Liberians will be pre-selected to serve as cargo distributors, which will not impact the anticipated outcome of empowering Liberian through goods distribution, Freeman stated. He further argued that the country's commercial distribution chain remains largely controlled by foreign business groups, including Fullers, Lebanese, and Indian merchants, while many Liberians lack the financial resources needed to compete in the sector. Freeman claimed that Liberians face major barriers such as high rental costs for commercial stores and the significant capital required to stock a distribution outlet. He estimated that renting a store could cost more than US $25 annually, while fully stocking a distribution business could require as much as US $50,000. That's a total of $25,000. And there are even more costs than some of the other costs that will come in that the government need to review themselves. First of all, you need to start with the government. The opposition leader maintained that government-backed Liberian distributors who likely end up supplying the same existing foreign control business ecosystem to profit, rather than transforming ownership opportunities for ordinary citizens. So, and I agree with this. It's going to remain right within the same old cycle of privilege, and, Lebanese and Indian merchants that are friends with the government, instead of being an opportunity to transform and transfer ownership opportunities for ordinary Liberian citizens. So the government is not deliberate about helping you. They're not. None of you are going to get empowered through this scheme. This is a policy approach that really does not deal with the core issues. The pretense of advocating for Liberians is a farce, Freeman declared, blaming what he called poorly designed policies crafted without sufficient economic depth and understanding. Freeman also disclosed that he intends to put additional posts outlining what he believes, blah, 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 blah. So that is that. Basically, to just sum up this, the reason I bring this up, because this man is a businessman. He's a Liberian businessman. He has been here. He has been into water, mineral water. He's into satellite, provision, satellite TV, network or cable TV stuff, and all of that, plus other chain of businesses that he runs, right? So they understand the day-to-day. But besides, if the government's desire is to ensure that you who are out there, the lay people, to have an opportunity and a stake in our economy, right? To be able to compete with these foreign business merchants, right? Is to review the system, right? The government has established this electronic procurement platform at PPCC. That is the first government policy that strangulates and take away the competition possibility for ordinary Liberian company to begin with. So PPCC is there. PPCC now sets a standard for you to enroll on that platform. First of all, depending on your business portfolio, you have to pay $1,000, and that $1,000 for you to be there, right? That $1,000 is not a guarantee that you get, but just to be in the pool of companies and businesses that are privileged to compete for government contracts and government programs. And those are the places that Liberian businesses are being empowered. So VP Kun should be having a sit down with the PPCC people or having a structural government review of the business environment, right? NASCOP and all these things, and see whatever adjustment they can make based on the capacity of Liberian businesses to be able to come up and get there. So based on that new PPCC standard now, it's difficult for Liberian catering business providers to even have contract in government, because once they are not available there, they will not see the government contract, they will not be able to compete, they will not be able to bid for them. So they deny. So government is taking action that already deny and strangulating ordinary Liberian businesses. And I'll tell you how, right? So before that man is qualified to get on that PPCC thing, that man has to show his tax clearance. That man has to show his national social security. And when you go to NASCOP, right, for national social security, you tell the people how many employees you get. Let's say you're running a small construction firm and you want to do sidewalk for government. It's small, 200,000, 50,000 sidewalk contract in some area, or beautification, or you want to do catering, right? Then you say you get 5 staff. Let's say for catering program. So maybe like the July 26th is coming, right? The catering, a Liberian company. And you say I want to handle the catering aspect. You got to submit your NASCOP credentials, right? Your tax clearance, your business registration, and all that's required. And all the wanted our money. So, but you go to the NASCOP, you say, oh, we get 10 staff. The minimum wage per the labor, the physical labor that which the NASCOP will pass on is at least 150 per employee. So when you multiply that 150, that the main operating cost, and the main bidding for some 10,000 or 15,000 contract. You do all that math, then you know how much that man will be required to do that. Then the man finish, the man go get his tax clearance every TD month pay. And if NASCOP established that your business has been existing for X number of years, you have to pay the social security back pay for all those people for that number of months, right? Before NASCOP can give you the certificate, you have to pay. So if that Liberian company is going for 10,000 or 15 or 20,000 job, that may not pay about 7 to 10,000 in NASCOP back pay already. All the arrears, then before you finish settling all those ones, then you come up. Then we go to PPCC, you got to deposit 1,000 or 2,000 depending on the portfolio. And you understand? So these are government bottlenecks to Liberian business. So all day you're looking at foreigners, they have to confuse you, right? Those are government bottlenecks. You go to PPCC need regulation, and you got to pay just to be on the platform. You got to pay 1,000, 2,000. And in the process of paying that, let's say your bill is 1,000, but in the process of getting to pay that one, you will pay up to 2,000. I'm told. There are a lot of people out there, you're listening, you're experiencing it, and these things are hurting. It's hurting the business people, but they can't talk because the way the government made the environment so toxic, right? So if you are required to pay 2,000 to be on the platform, you'll pay almost to 4,000 now. And then when you take all these costs for in that 20,000 that you are bidding for to do the contract, you even get the money. Your company now go through all those expenses, and it is not even a guarantee that you get a company. You get a contract. Then before PPCC can enroll you on the platform, VP Kun looking at the kind of thing now that giving Liberian business a hard time. That what Lebanese companies will always be there. Go check on the PPCC. Those of you that have access to the PPCC platform to be able to have government contracts. See how many Liberian companies there. You passing around having meeting with people, you say, oh, Liberianization. When the actual platform where the opportunities are, Liberians are not there. Fair Liberian. You think the government serious to empower us? No. They just come on the surface. They create these things. They come on the surface. So you need critical people like us to go behind and bring these things out and advocate and fight for you. These people don't mean it. They don't mean it when they say it because the approach is knee-jerk. The approach is not even convincing. The approach is not even scholarly. It's not even intellectual. One man here called spoon. How you can't do government policy and like that? He be calling spoon, man. Then demonstration can't stand. He be talking. Get 30 days. That 30 days, you got to address the fundamental structural drawbacks, right? Then at the very PPCC, the government, if you want to empower librarian company, like I said the other day, right? And you see how difficult it is to have a company in librarian and be successful as a librarian, ordinary librarian company, because where you get money from, right? Or the plenty of payment that you got to do before you even make it there. Then they bring the other system now that compels you got to go through it. First, during the CDC time, they used to flexibly manage and bring librarian companies up. But they say no way, you will pay. That's what the men are doing according to sources from the business community. That's what they're doing. They're complaining. But you know what they can do? In the net, they will take their mattress, they will take their pillowcase, they put it on the face, and then they will cry inside. They grieve for the small little money that they get. Paying your money, no guarantee whether you even get a contract. So let's say you pay that money into PPCC, and the money that you default on the payment, they will drop you from the platform. Once you not pay, they will drop you. So when you go on the platform, so all the noise we're making at the end of the day are Lebanese companies, Indian companies, in for catering. Commercial company there, or then you put the benchmark. You put it at the same level of companies that are worth 2 million, 3 million, and then you put out Le Kobosha catering company there. You get the same requirement. Are you being fair? Those are the ones you're supposed to deal with instead of passing around and playing on emotional issue. Oh, Lebanese people taking our job, the foreigner taking our job. Who's enabling that? The government. It's the government that enables them because the government puts in policy that strangulates you further and make it difficult for you to thrive in your own country. And then they shift the blame on the people. The politicians are responsible, right? Especially the rescue politicians. They are the one who brought these things. They're killing you, they're strangulating you. You can't go nowhere in business. You can't even get a contract. 0776 104 104 086 500 104. A range of issues this morning. Let's say your thought across those subjects. You may be interested. Not everybody want to do politics in the country. Not everybody won't be. Everybody want to do business. Why the country create an opportunity that supports? You say at PPCC, they say under the liberalization. Look at the money they say only librarian company can bid for. I know 10 or 20,000 contract in a range, 10 or 20,000 in our own country. You bring it down. Why you can't make it 200,000? Any contract worth 200,000? No, that would be a strong statement, strong liberalization statement. That means any company that will win that thing, a librarian company. In the year time, if about 60 librarian company win that, right, you're expanding, the opportunity base among us. You're putting more money in librarians' pocket. Do that. You can't limit the people in their own country to 10,000 contract. And the cost of even getting that 10,000 contract is around 7,000 before they may even start the contract. So what are you doing? You are the one strangulating librarian business, not foreigner. Let's hear your thoughts. 0776 104 104 086 500 104 plus 231 500 104 are the numbers to call, and then we'll talk politics later right here on Freedom 87.9. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Imam. I'm calling from up Capitol Hill.
Go ahead.
Okay. What have to say about the Yeke Koruba situation?
Mm-hmm.
The opposition need to be very strong. We want bad things. Yeke Koruba, one time he was on the opposition side. Anything happen, the people will be very spectacle in the form of they will go and protest. We opposition, we need to get together to go to that Capitol building and protest. Because any small thing that used to happen in Georgia regime, the people will go and protest.
for 2029.
No, but when we go to the court can slap the people in their face. That's disgrace. That's even more disgracing than trying to protest.
They put I got 1 time on our court, and that's where they do it. That's Samuel 12. You got to know that I'm going to hold Samuel 12 on our court. Even the final minister, they are going to hold you too.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
I'm definitely still about calling from the Virginia Speaker district number 11.
Mm-hmm.
This government thing on me, they want to suppress the citizens to see to it that all the citizens down, some people they will find it difficult to live life in a city, rather someone will be making decisions to go back in a interior. They want to know that this day is modern day. Everybody made up their mind to learn and do something for the future, but they are suppressing the common people, doing selected justice and trying to deny somebody right. I want to go to Honorable Due for the upcoming victory.
We are not there yet. Good morning. Y'all let's talking politics, Ben. Talking real issues that's about you. Good morning. Good morning. This caller's not ready. Good morning. 0776 104 104 086 500 104 plus 231 86 500 104 are the numbers to call. This is the Freedom Money Rise. Good morning. Let's hear you. Good morning. Morning. Okay. Good morning.
Yeah, morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, morning, sir.
Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, I really want to know what we get company in this country for. A lot of company in this some when they carry gold, when they carry mirrors, when they carry law, so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Then our government going around for everything. So for what reason we're going to go there for? I really want to know.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a message you want to know everything we get in the country. Why is the government going around crediting? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Abu. How are you this morning?
I'm okay. Let's hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Ivan Douglas. I do join from Ghana Virtual President. Abu, to see a tangible, logical reasoning from the government in terms of working the interests of the people. Since the government get to power, I've not seen it yet. Abu, who took the Ministry of Transport and give it to foreigners? How can the people come and continue to cry if to say they know the problem, where the problem is? You are coming to power, you told that you are coming with that privatization policy. Since they get to power up to now 2 years to 3 years now, what are some of the steps they are taking? Abuja don't continue. I just see this as a cabin message. They are not serious about it. No logical reason behind it. Thank you very much, Abu.
Okay, thank you very kindly. 0776 104 104 086 500 104. The numbers to call, and of course, you'll be live on the Freedom Money Rise on Freedom 87.9. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
Okay, we lost that. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I want to thank the talking points.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the talking point. But let me learn to be serious in this country. And my name is Ima Joe. Only information like that in school lesson, we started Allah Salah. You are having for Allah Salah to promote you. But that is saying that if this government is serious, I will say no. In terms of promoting business and to grow, I will say no. Look at the issue about transport ministry.
Mm-hmm.
You take a government entity and give it to a private entity. Is that empowerment of your citizens? Denying laborer jobs. These people, they are not serious. They are not a serious success. There are a lot of missteps that people are taking. Today, Honorable Samuel Gotti is trying. I don't know, but I expect him not to be cutting my cost. I expect Honorable Samuel Gotti to be cutting my cost. Because you will wonder on the air that anybody who will more about that, you will cut down and you will do this. So what now you cannot force? There's no shame.
It's not easy, but the people after Sandra Johnson is there. They're going after him.
There's no shame for thing. There's no honorable man. That was so serious for a part.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Abu. How you doing, my son?
I'm okay. Morning.
I was
Beautiful. Go ahead.
okay, this is my sister. I'm calling from Sudan this morning. Me say thank you and me appreciate you this morning. So, those people that lead us today, what all the things that it will come to light. Sando Jassy is talking about today. He got I know Sando Jassy or Jassy. Who's the neighbor in boys? That's what he want to do. It means that big rusted man selling up public and thing will be some people pull up a podcast. That man, like, actually, who's up the G? Don't be here. In the street, don't tell nobody that people that put in the youth up there. So that man selling up.
But it's not easy right now because Sandra Johnson is crying. It's not easy.
Watching the show, but when I talk about your video on the show, you should have the men laughing, that guy. The men laughing, they enjoy the show that's going on. You're laughing. You're not going to get your ball. That's what you're trying. What are you trying for? When you get a job? Or what you did, and I get your job? What are you trying for? Or you're not that for a table? Or what the heck is your joy? Or you are going to say you're looking for a job, your podcast. And it's slapping your face, you want to come by and tell people, oh, this one. No. But you don't get that for your client, Sandro Johnson. What you saw in the white, get up. What you saw when the people were crying and the body was doors and riot. What you saw in the wedding room. When you were seeking for jobs to stay to America or in Babylon West or to Ghana or to Europe. That's a job failure on you, my brother.
Okay.
That's why you're not definitely going. And they will say, I mean, when you go for where your market, when you go for your market today, you have a picture. They have a photo. It's out completely. It's crying.
Who the man there?
Oh, you not know man. Why you asking me about something? You think that me? Talk about that all the photo. Don't pretend like you don't know the name.
Hey, my sister. So what blood the man? So the man on the way? So that match about that case on the money. Okay, so Masisi, let me ask you lastly now. You think with what the vice president doing, you think they're looking serious to empower people like you, the ordinary Liberians, to get opportunity and compete in the economy? You think they're serious about it?
What is seriousness? What is seriousness? And the vice president. What's seriousness? How much they are created for Liberia for Israel? They all lie. Why do they work? I said lie. Don't say it. Because I'm not happy. Don't get a happy job. When they go and keep myself a black. They will be keep myself on the same message and not you. That lie. You can get my job. Give me the price today. And they tell you you're not going to school, you're not educated, you can't get a job. How many they get a job in this country? How many you? They come to go, oh, they follow in this way, you go to school. All the vice president, how many of them go to school? All the vice president, all the scholarship. That's what we're putting like that. Now, pulling the turkey. The people will feed it. We see it. They get started.
Okay, so Masisi, lastly, if the vice president asks you, say, Masisi, please give me your own suggestion on what I can do to help people like you, old man like you, to help you so you will enjoy the country and feel okay in your own country in business. What the government can do for you?
No, let me tell you. So let me tell you this. Let me tell you.
No, not me for you, but for the country now. Not party business. No, but you can still get your view. You say this now, you can still get your view.
No, I can't get view on the economy. I can't get view.
But no, but you just get a view. No, listen.
Yeah, but it's looking at let's go this way. They see something. Let's talk people. Let's tell our people. Even the people that you left, our shocker was where you left. All them together. Let's call them. They talk about the people. Let's discuss it. Let's hear that. Let's hear that. Why you get good? You found you. When you tell them, that's okay. What will do? Let's open the body. Let's get job for all. Let's get job for them for all.
Masisi, thank you, Masisi. Masisi, now you got to get the people suggestion. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
Pastor calling from Brooklyn.
Go ahead. You're the second to the last caller. We'll go to something else. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, brother. I'm listening to you discussing about Standard Johnson. You know, all the city gods who support by government, they all the party to wear propaganda. They all the party to do. Brother, just do your survey now in the rural community. You see how many children have been with same vaccine for COVID. You have to get it, you have to go to the critical, you have to go to the survey master, you have to go to the Coca-Cola. Go to the rural community, everything, okay, you see, Kevin, 24-hour working for the building school administration. Brother, it's not easy. They guys, they just run. But Standard Johnson, the God are in heaven.
No, but in reach to the government. Sano is crying that the government he brought, the government is being ungrateful to him. They're requiring him all kind of things. He will never do it. He never bend down for contract. He will never bend down for job.
Yeah, the reason is saying that frustration. Brother, when somebody is doing the right thing, we are going looking at the poor people. He was not looking at those guys who are late for the government in 1990. He was not looking at direction. He was looking for people who no opportunity to get work, no opportunity to go to their community freely, building community role for them. Access role, access market. Those are the things government and people teach the level of the people will get them. They have to go up the hill to be enriching rich people. People who live fully on government, they do not bargain. That was not the policy of we are. So they were frustrated they can be again we are because the same market we are not looking at direction, the big journalists, the big minister, the big candidate, we are not looking at direction. We are looking at the general livelihood of the people, the masses.
Okay, the general livelihood of the people, the masses. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Chief. Your time up. Let's take Thomas. Thomas, you're the last caller on this segment. Go ahead. Let's hear you.
Someone instable member of the concerned Liberian for justice. Abu, let me say this. This government came on the matter in the private sector because they said everybody willing to government job. I think you can remember once, Mr. Baga.
Yeah.
Or you see behind jobs, we are when we come back to when we do better, so that we move from behind jobs, we are all this kind of stuff.
That's
but
correct.
Now we see the green private sector. Now you see very why he used to be.
And people are crying, and the private sector is getting even more challenging and difficult for the people to stay.
That's what I'm telling you. Anything the government, anywhere people from the government go, they will spoil. In Socosta, when you stole 76,000, you run away.
I know, my man. Nobody said the man stole money.
Abu, I'm telling you that.
But businesses can go in debt. I won't forget about that one, my man. Talk about
the man stole the money. Why he run away, Abu?
Why the man tell you saying you run away, my man? What kind of thing you talking to?
This man is known for running away. Abu, I'm telling you that Costa.
No, my man, don't reduce it to cause that thing, that business issue that the man people get. Debt issue.
The man run away. You saw on a live video somebody insulting Costa for that money.
But the man responded. The man said it's a debt. He's committed to paying, and he has been paying. So
why he can't pay the debt? Because you see, he know people in the system. So you see, you intimidate people in.
So how does that relate to what we're talking about now?
Okay, now you are discussing the private sector. Not everything will be politics in this country.
And that's what we're talking about.
It was President George Weah who damaged every fabric of this country. So now, how many NGO come under this government? How many people from the international community left? It's the part of the government brought in this government. Now the president suspend Mohamed Ba for what? For what? To tell you that they are damaged everywhere in this country, Abu. Everywhere the private sector is the worst place now in the government because all the government officials get they get company they working with. Go to the court, but people get working with. You see they take the company they take.
Man, these are allegations. All right, thank you.
They want doing our lesson in the country, Abu. We are finished. So why will Liberian work? Why will Liberian go? Anywhere they go, Joe Baga will chase them from there. So Abu, You can't discuss the private sector without mentioning the government financial. There's
Okay.
no way you can discuss that.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Well said. And so that is it, folks. This is our country. Let's keep talking, and that's what we have to do. And let's do all we can to ensure that the government recognizes and realizes that it has to remain standing firm with the Liberian people, and that's what we're. So on a 10 minute, let's just run you over quickly. On Friday last week, our management officially turned over, and of course, our CEO is fully in charge. The Honorable Councillor J. Funati Kofa and the team, right? So it was a very colorful event, beautiful. So we had a lot of media gurus and, of course, personalities, national leaders were all there. So it was indeed a very beautiful, reassuring, dinner marking the official turnover of Freedom Communication Incorporated ownership to the Kofa family. And we, as staff here, are very excited about this transition because we see the prospect, we see the commitment, we see the passion for democracy. We know this is driven by the quest to include the ordinary people views and aspiration and voice into our democratic framework and architecture. I mean, an attempt to silence that is a denial of their fundamental right. So the CEO and his family believe that democracy thrives on the wheel of press freedom and the ability for a free space for people to cross pollinate their thoughts on good governance issues, leadership, security, and just whatever the state would need to function. For everybody's benefit. And so this is where we are, and we want to assure you, our audience, that we are going to be even better, and you can rest assured to those of you across the country that have been yearning for our voice in your areas. We can guarantee to you that, of course, as times go by, this FM dial, this station will be in every nooks and cranny of the republic, courtesy of the commitment of our new CEO, and of course the passion and the belief he has in media and the work we do. So that was that. And then before we go to our code room issue, part of the things the government campaign on was fighting corruption, ensuring accountability, and of course, and all of that. So for the past time, we've been having conversation about, and me, I like to stick on things until I see the necessary fix being made. So this matter of the Liberia Airport Authority, the LACC recently released a plethora of audit reports, and I think the Auditor General P. Gaswa Jackson is supposed to be making some media rounds to speak to the nation about these, and others expected. And audits are not indictment, but they provide a kind of leeway for the relevant institution to be able to review and see whether they can find probable cause to press legal charges. And you understand? For example, when the audits are done, they're sent to the legislature. The Joint Public Accounts Committee will make review of them, and they will then make a recommendation to the president. And where there is need there is sufficient need, right? Then they can send to either the LACC or they send to the Ministry of Justice. Let me put it that way, for prosecution. So it's just the beginning. So there's this 3 million or plus, right? Let me see, 3.7 million from the past regime of our friend of our friend Martin Hayes. So there's some 3 million unaccounted for in the LACC audit report on the LAA. And you understand? So that is something that needs to be looked at. And then we move, we come past. Under the current leadership and administration of the LAA, there's also been conversations about accusations and allegations about, administrative inadequacies and blah blah stuff. So a presidential panel was established to investigate claims made by the chairman of the board, Mr. Yan Martin. And Mr. Yan Martin wrote a very long letter to the president's office leveling egregious allegations against the management and particularly the managing director. So the president set up a panel to investigate the matter and report findings to his office. And the matter was done, the conclusion was made, and it was established that the allegations were baseless. And of course, the managing director was never ever, guilty of any of the crime. But interestingly, the panel's investigation established that these concerns from the LAA under the current leadership was being fueled by the board chair, the board of directors, the chairman of the board of directors. So they recommended to the president, and Mr. President, we got to be clear about this. The fight against corruption is not just by targeting past government officials. The fight against corruption is a national responsibility, it's a national duty that must remain active, right? So the presidential committee, the presidential investigative panel, made a particular recommendation, right, to the office of the president, calling on for the restructuring and reorganization of the board of directors. So the panel, for the most part, realized and recognized that the current structuring of the board of director of the Liberia Airport Authority is a hindrance to the operation and management of the agency or the authority, so to speak. So, but we have witnessed from a president who has bragged about his commitment to fighting corruption and addressing matters, but we've noticed a kind of conspicuous silence and, of course, inaction on the recommendation of the very presidential panel established by Mr. President. Mr. President, we know you're in, you're out of the country in Kenya, but we're bringing this to your attention once more, that your committee of trusted, reputable panelists that you set up, they painstakingly did their investigation into the matter and they made this recommendation, but you have not taken action. Maybe elements at the mansion are kind of concealing this, or they putting kind of shield for Mr. Yan Martin. And we must learn as a republic to get negatively infested individuals from our public bureaucracy, because these are the bad apples that seeding seeds of dangerous discourse and just fermenting, corruption and all of that, and hiding behind partisan rhetorics and partisan sentiments and all that. Now, in the panel's recommendation, It says, in light of the panel's findings regarding governance failures, it is recommended that the board of directors leadership be reassessed immediately. But we've not seen that happen. There's no indication of that. And people like us, we don't want to be the regular Liberian media people where you just toss on it, you move from there, you forget about it. We are committed to change. So when we see probably someone, we go for it. We follow behind. We commended the president office and the president for launching an investigation into this. But then when you do the investigation, the result comes, then you don't want to implement it. Then that means you are not being fully committed to accountability. This is what sometimes people would term as witch hunt. So, however, the outcome of the investigation will have come the other way around. Obviously, the president will have taken action and acted on the panel's recommendation for the most part. But then the question is, why isn't the president acting in time on the recommendation of his own established panel in this regard? Is it because the men's of Unity Party, man, so to speak, right? And the country should not be operating that way. Now, so the director, the panel recommended that the director's leadership be reassessed immediately. Specifically, the panel found that the chairman, Yan Martin, did not adequately coordinate the board's actions in alignment with its supervisory mandate. Then why are you still keeping the man there? Instead, he engaged in activities that extended into the authorities' day-to-day operations, usurpation, overlap, believing that he is more Unity partisan than the fellow that's the managing director, and he thinks he can be enabled by his partisan alignment to flout and usurp and act outside of the periphery of his administrative remit. And if such a dangerous action is established in the workspace, there must be responsible actions taken to correct that. And as recommended by the board, as you see, which according to the board fall outside the scope of his statutory authority. Furthermore, the chairman failed to demonstrate the necessary leadership to manage. So the chairman failed to demonstrate the necessary leadership to manage. So then why are we keeping him as chairman of the board? If the man doesn't have the requisite leadership to manage and resolve the divisions and institutional discord currently present within the Liberia Airport Authority, LAA, why do we still have the man there? The man should be statutorily responsible to supervising and mitigating these things and finding remedy, but he lacks the leadership wherewithal to handle this matter because he most likely gets conflicted and gets himself entangled into the issues. The panel also observed that the handling of the bribery and solicitation allegation was procedurally flawed and inconsistent with the principles of due diligence. Serious allegations of a criminal nature, which can damage reputations and undermine institutional integrity, must be carefully verified before being presented as facts. In this case, the chairman relied on unverified information and presented it as inappropriate and and presented it as if it had evidence and presented it as if it had evidentiary certainty without conducting a proper investigation. So the scene campaign attitude, where they used to be lying on people and presenting it as fact. So he takes that same Unity Party campaign lying attitude in a professional setting. The guys have refused to transition, to leave from the campaign mood to the governance mood, right? So if he can concord put it together and then put it out in the media and the loud media noise and blah, blah, and then actually think, no, we're not running the country like that. Absolutely not. So this approach, according to the panel, was inappropriate and contributed to the escalation of conflict within the authority. Therefore, the panel recommends removing the chairman of the board and proposes restructuring the board. First, this is what Mr. President, this is what your panel say. The premise, your panel say you should remove the chairman of the board. But as we speak, Yamaten is still the chairman of the board. You sent somebody for investigation. The investigation outcome can say, oh, the man is caught in the wrongdoing, and recommended that the magnitude of this man wrongdoing, we think you should remove this man because his presence here is chaotic. It's going to keep, fueling chaos. If you keep this man there outside of the borders of the investigative conclusion, then that means you are aiding and abetting whatever tension that's happening at the LAA, Mr. President. And I'm not sure you want to be considered in that light. So just a reminder, and of course tomorrow we're going to come here again to remind you. But this is what happened. This is where you have to be demonstrating the commitment to fighting corruption, the commitment to accountability, the commitment to administrative due diligence, right? But then you leave that, and you are prepared to expedite. You are prepared to expedite other issues involving, quote unquote, notable opposition figures. And so, folks, this one is going to take us to the whole debate about what happened at the court in the $6.2 million economic sabotage case. Remember, way before now, we told you clearly that the government of Liberia arguments were very weak. They were not sufficient to convince any reasonable jury to rule in their favor. Reasonable jury, like I said. Jury left in the right frame of mind and all of that. They were not. The arguments were weak. The prosecution witnesses were very shallow in most times during the arguments, like we follow. So now let me read the sequence on the final day. On the final day, as the arguments were made on Friday, for those of us that did not follow, we just saw a little everybody saying this is an opportunity just to give you a clue on where we came from. During final argument, prosecutors urged the jury to hand down a guilty verdict and hold the defendants accountable for the disappearance of public funds. Prosecution of the government said the jury, arguing in their closing argument, that the jury should hold the defendants guilty and accountable for the disappearance of public funds allegedly intended for national and public health purposes. And that is a theater of sentimental argumentation. So you got to be able to you got to be able to convince the jurors. Say, bring the defendants down guilty. Let them pay the Liberian people money while they are in jail, the prosecution declared before the court. Prosecutors argue that the money in question was intended to benefit the Liberian people, but was unlawfully diverted. The state further maintained that the Financial Intelligence Agency, FIA, was not a member of the Joint Security or the National Security Council, emphasizing that except one defendant identified as Jefferson Campbell, the remaining 4 defendants were not members of the Joint Security apparatus. Those were the argument. You listen to the argument. They say the money now for health purposes, blah, blah. And the other one, they say, oh, the people not part of the Joint Security, blah, blah. According to the prosecution, the defendants failed to identify any Joint Security agency that allegedly received the funds. That's according to the prosecution. The prosecution says Samuel Toy and the rest of the other people did not show any joint security account. For them, the argument is they did not show any joint security account. They don't care what other account they show, but the fact that they don't show any joint security account, right, or agency they consider within the periphery or the perimeters of the joint security, setup, then so state lawyers argued that evidence presented throughout the trial, including bank statements and financial records, clearly show the movement of money from government accounts to the FRA without proper accountability. They say both argue that money, they say defense did not show any joint security account, but they argue that the bank statement and financial records that they view as evidence show clearly the movement of money from the government of Liberia account to the FRA account, the FRA, which is also a government institution and all that, but without proper accountability. The prosecution also referenced testimony surrounding the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission investigation report, which states that former FRA controller Moses Cooper allegedly failed to provide a credible explanation regarding the handling and distribution of the fund. They say the LACC investigation established that Moses Cooper did not show credibly or explain reasonably regarding the handling and distribution of the money. So the prosecution felt that was a ground to hold the defense accountable for the disappearance or the lack of accountability of the 6.2 million. According to the prosecution, Cooper initially claimed the money was turned over to members of the joint security team whom he could not remember. However, prosecution said a subsequent communication indicated that the funds were allegedly given to an individual identified as Theophilus Lamy. Lamy later testified in court and denied ever receiving the money from Cooper. Prosecutors further argued that former FRA officials and joint security members failed to properly account for funds allegedly totaling over 1 billion LD and US 500,000 intended for security operation. Now, listen to the defense final argument. Defense questioned the state evidence in the US 6.2 million trial. Listen to the prosecution, right? So coming down slow. Defense lawyers in the US 6.2 million economic sabotage case mounted a strong challenge against a defense that means that Samuel Toy. Y'all listen to the first one I read that the government people that were talking. Samuel Toy people. This is a summary of what happened in the court. So defense lawyers in the US 6.2 million economic sabotage case mounted a strong challenge against the prosecution's evidence during closing arguments before jurors at the criminal could see what was the argument that they proffered. Addressing the juror, defense attorney argued that witnesses called by the state confirmed that the former finance minister, the former minister of finance, possessed the authority under the public financial management law to authorize the release of government funds. Listen to this. For those of you who are just being interested, Samuel Toy, say because they tell you doing the campaign, say Samuel Toy steal, so you believe that Samuel Toy stole, so it should just be like that. So the way the defense lawyer started a closing argument, they say, first of all, to begin with, the witnesses that the state itself brought, the very witnesses that they brought to come testify that Toy then stole the money. The very witnesses claim they took the stand here and they confirmed that the former minister of finance possesses or possessed the authority under the PFM law. That means it is legal. It is within Samuel Tuer as finance minister. It is within his purview as Minister of Finance, right, to release government funds. That means Samuel Tuer release of that fund in no way indicate, right, wrongdoing or criminality, because it was his right under the law to do that, right? Now, according to the defense, the prosecution failed to produce rebuttal witnesses or evidence that disprove the authority, despite making it a central issue in the indictment, right? Prosecution was indicting Samuel Tuer as though Samuel Tuer's release of the money was wrong, was criminal, was illegal, and it was intended to enrich himself, right? But then when the argument was made in accordance with the PFM law, that as finance minister, you reserve the right under the law to disburse government fund, right? Prosecution failed to bring a rebuttal. They play like they didn't hear that one. They power it. The court will be very, very interesting. The defense also challenged the government's allegations of theft and money laundering, arguing that prosecutors had not established that the funds were converted to personal use or originated from illegal activity. Now, let's talk about the origination. The disbursement from finance ministry is the origin, right? It's not illegal. There's a constitutional or legal law that provides for that. So this finance minister was legally bounded under the PFM law when he disbursed the money. So the origin of the money is not legal. Now, beyond that, you say criminality happened with the money. So it becomes the responsibility of the state now to prove, right, the diversion of those funds for personal enrichment. Because in a criminal or economic sabotage case like this, the state or the prosecution must prove, and must prove the conversion of the money or whatever for personal use or enrichment. Defense argued that the state failed to do that. So, like, people, anyone know how the Baka government blunder in the case? They made wildcat allegations that they could not substantiate with prima facie, or they could not even convince the laymen, because the jurors are laymen, right? These are not lawyers. They could not convince the laymen, just to imagine. So lawyers representing the defendants further criticized the government for failing to present CCTV footage that they claim could have identified the individual who physically collected the money. So outside, when they go sit down on Class Reloaded and other media platform, they argue that they have CCTV, they have this, they have footage, they have video of people moving, standing on the counter, taking the money, right? But when they went in the court, they failed to produce that. That is under criminal investigation, right? Placing the accused on the scene of the crime. You got to put the man on the crime scene. You got to bring something that puts the man on the crime scene. So the defense lawyer argued that prosecution failed to do that because they just did not have that. It was all propaganda from the look of things. But should they lead the state into that? The government knows who took the money. One defense lawyer, Arthur T. Johnson, told jurors, arguing that the absence of video evidence created serious doubt about the prosecution's case. Because you say you get video. So why you not bring a video? So it made your whole case to look like fun. Defense attorney maintained that the matter should be decided strictly based on evidence and law, rather than public sentiment or political pressure. They warned jurors against relying on assumptions instead of proving facts. Don't assume here, bring the facts. Right? And the jurors are supposed to evaluate the facts and make decision. The defense additionally argued that if the prosecution truly intended to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, investigators who have produced surveillance footage and other direct evidence linking the defendants to the alleged theft. Linking the defendants to the alleged theft. That's what I talk about, putting them on the crime scene. Government didn't do that. And I know a lot of you are so very frustrated because you heard a lot of news, you heard a lot of things about, oh, somebody told this, corrupt. So you ready to have come to this point. Now, let's come to the outcome. So when they finish making this argument, it's time for the jury to deliver the verdict. Jury deliver a mixed verdict. Right? Now, in the verdict of the jury, right, Tue Cooper got acquitted. The court orders retrial for the other people based on the appeal. A 12-man juror at Criminal Code C returned a mixed verdict in the ongoing US $6.2 million economic sabotage case involving 5 former officials of the administration of the former President George Manuel Weah. The juror found former Finance Minister Samuel Tue and former Financial Intelligence Agency Controller Moses Cooper not guilty of the charges brought against them. 2 very important: the source of the money and the receiver. For the most part, you know the role the controller play now. You know, you gotta approve and make sure. So, but the government failed to prove wrongdoing on the part of these 2 critical individuals or defendants in the matter. However, the jury returned with huge verdicts against former acting Justice Minister Councilor Yantin Twan and former National Security Advisor Jefferson Campbell on charges, right? Former FIA Director General Stanley Ford, the court ordered a retrial of the 3 defendants. The verdict followed several hours of intense closing arguments from both the prosecution and defense team before Judge Usman F. Feka instructed the jurors on the applicable law prior to deliberation. While charging the jury, Judge Feka emphasized that the verdict must be based solely on evidence presented during the trial. He instructed the panel that if the prosecution had proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt, they should return guilty verdict. However, if reasonable doubt remained, the defendants were entitled to an acquittal. During closing argument, prosecutors urged the jury to convict the defendants, arguing that the missing public funds were intended for public health purposes but were unlawfully diverted, even though they could not prove the diversion. Bring the defendants down guilty. Let them pay the Liberian people money. State lawyers argue that financial records and bank statements introduced during the trial demonstrated that large sums of money were transferred from government accounts to the Financial Intelligence Agency without proper accountability. The prosecution further maintained that the FIA was not a member of the Joint Security or National Security Council and argued that, except for Jefferson Campbell, none of the accused were members of the Joint Security apparatus. According to prosecution, the defendants failed to identify any legitimate Joint Security agency that allegedly received the money. The state also referenced findings from Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. Prosecution made these arguments. And according to the prosecution, former FIA official and member of the Joint Security apparatus failed to properly account for more than 1 billion LD, 500,000 United States dollars. Meanwhile, defense lawyers strongly challenged those counts, like I said earlier, right? Concluding, defense counsel Arthur Johnson criticized investigators for their failure, like I said earlier, to provide live CCTV footage that placed the defendants on the scene of the crime and all of that, thereby rendering the prosecution position, leaving the prosecution position with huge doubt, with huge and reasonable doubt, So, in the end, in the final analysis, the verdict came out, and Samuel Tuer got acquitted of all of the crimes. Samuel Tuer got acquitted of all of the crimes. And Yantin Twine got charged. The former acting justice minister Yantin Twine got found guilty for what? Theft of public funds and theft of property. Now, but then the argument on the other end will be the property that was not directly put in his possession. How did he steal it? When they play the money, when you acquitted the controller, but you say the man who was the acting minister stole the money. In the above crime, or in the crime as stipulated for Yantin Twine, pundits are arguing that the crimes can be proven beyond or before the Supreme Court, especially now that Yantin Twine and others have taken an appeal. When you go to the Supreme Court, then you have to prove how Yantin Twine stole the money. You have to prove that. Then you come to Jefferson Camo, former security advisor, and Stanley Ford, former director general of the FIA. They will be set free for the most part in the wisdom of people who have reviewed this matter, right? Say that when you say Jefferson Camo and Stanley were found guilty of criminal conspiracy and facilitation, that means they conspired and facilitated, right, somebody in the commission of the crime, but that person that you have not found. But we all know that the former Justice Minister Yantin Twine was not the FIA director and the controller. But you say he is the one that stole because you charge him for theft of property. And then you say Jefferson Camo and the FIA director, they conspire and facilitated Yantin Twine to steal. But then the money was sent to FIA account. So it's a difficult thing that a prosecution will have to go and explain properly, right? And besides, this man was acting justice minister. He wasn't managing the FIA bank account. Neither is he a signatory to CBL check. So how did you hold the man? On what ground? It's possible, like many people have said, when the counselor went there, he argued as a lawyer, and so he kind of missed because it's about reasonable doubt. But now they will go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will look at it, and the chances are that the people will come out. So different lawyers have been sharing their thoughts on what happened, sharing their opinions on what happened. And I'd like to share with you this one from our young brother, Melvin Jackson. He's a courtroom reporter. He followed it all through on what he thinks about everything that happened over there. Jackson said, and I read, as a judicial reporter for many years, this is my opinion on the recently held economic sabotage case involving former finance minister Samuel Tuer and 4 others. Note, it's just my opinion, he said. The verdict in the high-profile US $6.2 million economic sabotage case involving Samuel D. Tuer Jr. and 4 former officials has emerged as one of the most legally and politically consequential judicial outcomes in recent Liberian history. What began as the Bouakai administration's flagship anti-corruption prosecution ended not with a sweeping conviction, but with a fractured verdict that exposed deep weaknesses in the prosecution's theory whilst simultaneously preserving criminal liability against some defendants. From a judicial correspondence perspective, the case was never simply about alleged missing money. That's important to understand. It was just not just about alleged missing money. It came to the point of, authoritative questions. He said it evolved into a national test of prosecutorial competence, evidentiary standards, executive authority over national security expenditures, and the extent to which anti-corruption prosecutions can survive political scrutiny in Liberia's polarized environment. At the center of the ruling was the complete acquittal of Tuwe and former FIA controller D. Moses P. Cooper on all counts, including economic sabotage, money laundering, theft of property, criminal conspiracy, and criminal facilitation. The jury decision effectively meant prosecutors failed to establish criminal intent or personal benefit beyond a reasonable doubt against the two men. Right? Prosecution failed to establish criminal intent. Prosecutor failed to prove that transaction that the UP people been passing around with, they failed to prove that it had criminal intent. So if they did not prove that, then that means that money was actually for national security purposes, unlike what the UP folks try to make it seem. And they also failed to show and prove personal benefit, whereby Samuel Tuwe or any of the accused directly took money and benefited themselves personally from that money. So if that's the case, that means the money went for its intended purpose, because the individual did not take the money. The government could not prove that. Legally, the acquittal sends a powerful signal about the burden of proof in criminal prosecution involving state security expenditures. The burden of proof is important. Throughout the trial, the defense consistently argued that the disputed transactions were authorized security operations conducted within executive channels during the 2023 electoral period. That was the defense argument throughout. Sametwe and the defense did not say, "Oh, we didn't do it." Said, "No, but we did it." But the thing we did it in line with our responsibility for the country. We did not do it to benefit ourselves. We did not do it to the money put in our pocket. It went for the country during the electoral process. So it then became the responsibility of prosecution to prove that they did not do it for the country, rather they took it and put it in their pocket. That's what the United Party struggled over the period they could not prove. But how come the ordinary rescue puppets out there, they're angry and they have the evidence, but the BB rescue people who went to court do not have the evidence? So I don't know. This is so very confusing, because they speak out there as if to say they have real evidence, they have the evidence. So how then they did not give the evidence to their BB rescue people to go and prosecute the man? Tuwe did not run away. Tuwe came back to the country and demonstrated bravery and stood before his accuser. He said, "You bring all the evidence. I'm here." Yet the jury appeared unconvinced that administrative irregularity alone amount to criminal conduct. The prosecution's greatest weakness appeared to be its inability to directly trace personal enrichment or illicit conversion of funds to Tuwe and Cooper. In complex financial crimes, especially economic sabotage and money laundering cases, courts generally require more than suspicion or procedural lapses. Prosecutors must establish deliberate criminal intent, unlawful benefit, or fraudulent concealment. The defense exploited this gap aggressively during cross-examination and final argument. This is the perspective of a courtroom reporter who followed the trial all through. Equally significant was the jury's apparent acceptance of the defense national security justification. Liberia's security spending framework historically operates with varying levels of confidentiality, and the defense repeatedly argued that not all classified expenditures can be publicly documented in conventional accounting formats. That argument appear to have created reasonable doubt, particularly regarding Tuer's role as finance minister rather than direct custodian of the disputed cash withdrawal. The man as finance minister. Now, however, the verdict was not an outright collapse of the prosecution case. The guilty finding against Jefferson Camo, Yanti Twine, and Stanley S. Ford revealed that jurors still found elements of criminal conduct within portion of the broader conspiracy. Camo was found guilty of criminal facilitation and conspiracy, while Twine and Ford received guilty verdict on several counts despite Hank verdict. The Hank verdict. On others, the mixed outcome suggests the jury attempted to distinguish between policy level authorization and operational execution. In other words, jurors may have concluded that Tuer and Cooper lacked sufficient direct involvement in the alleged unlawful implementation of the transaction, while other defendants exercised a more active role in the handling or movement of the fund. The Hank verdicts themselves are legally important. Hank verdicts on charges include theft of property and money laundering, indicate that jurors were deeply divided over whether prosecutors had sufficiently proven core elements of those crimes. The division reflects the complexity of prosecuting financial crimes tied to national security operations where documentations may be incomplete, classified, or administratively unconventional. From a broader jurisprudential standpoint, the case may become a reference point for future prosecution involving executive security spending. The ruling reinforces the principle that courts cannot criminalize state expenditure solely because procedures appear irregular unless prosecutors can prove criminal intent and unlawful appropriation. That distinction became the defining line between acquittal and conviction in this case. This is a smart point. Politically, the outcome is a significant setback for the government's anti-corruption agenda. The prosecution had publicly framed the matter as a landmark accountability case tied to alleged abuse of public resources under the former CDC administration. Instead, the acquittals of the two most prominent defendants now expose the government to accusations that the prosecution was politically motivated or prematurely assembled without airtight evidence. For the defense, the verdict presents a major vindication. Supporters of the former officials immediately portray the outcome as proof that the case was driven more by political optics than prosecutorial merit. The celebration outside criminal could see follow the verdict underscored how politically charged the proceedings had become. Still, the legal battle is far from over, right? According to court reporter Melvin Jackson. Both prosecution and defense teams reportedly noted exceptions to a portion of the verdict, signaling likely appeals and possible retrials on the hung counts. Judge Usman Fekar is also expected to address sentencing and unresolved procedural matters in subsequent proceedings. Ultimately, the case leaves Liberia's justice system facing difficult but necessary questions. Can anti-corruption prosecution involve state security expenditure, be effectively pursued without clearer financial oversight laws? Did prosecutors overreach by relying too heavily on circumstantial administrative evidence, or did the verdict simply reaffirm the enduring principle that criminal convictions must rest on proof beyond reasonable doubt rather than political expectation? Whether the answer, Samuel Tuer economic sabotage trial has already secured its place as one of the most consequential and divisive criminal proceedings in Liberia post-war judicial history. Now, part of what that fueled most of the sentiment were statements made by the government's chief prosecutor, the Solicitor General, Councillor Augustine Fire. You all remember when Augustine Fire announced that the case was over and this was going to be the shortest and prosecution stuff. You remember that time, Augustine Fire? I'm trying to get the video, right? So when the man who is the lead government prosecutor in this light made comments like that, it paints a more politicized picture than a serious judicial process that follows, and they lay down requirements and all of that. I'm trying to get the Augustine Fireman stuff I can. So the Samuel Tuer case happened, and there's been mixed reactions. A lot of people are feeling down. People feel like, oh, the state did not do well. And I see other people blaming the jurors, and some other UP apologists are risking the security of the jurors and exposing them and calling them name. No, they did an excellent job. They acted in accordance with what was presented to them, and they made a decision. They are not a politician. And again, I like to play and agree with Dylan when he said this, and then we'll open the phone lines right after that. We're not going to do too much opinion about this thing. The records are clear. And on the argument as to, re-indictment, this, that, it is not most likely possible with what we've heard from lawyers in the case of Samuel Tuer and the controller of the FIA, because they have been acquitted. So you can go back on them. That will be equal to double jeopardy under our law, right? So you have all of the time to do what you have to do. And somebody say, oh, when the other people go to the Supreme Court, if something happened, then it will bring Samuel Tuer and back. No, that's separate verdict. I don't try, but the verdict came, everybody get their own verdict. So you can't hold the other man and bring the man back when the man have already been acquitted. So Mr. Tuer is free and free. And we have to go past by that. But here's what Unity partisans who have preferred. That based on their feeling, the way they feel about Tuer, the way they see him, the way they feel about the CDC, that hold the man and put the man in jail. That's not how our laws are developed. That you just grab anybody, you just put them behind bar. And that's why you have to go to the court. That's why every time we're encouraging people, you get issue, you go to court. So listen to Brother Dylan on this.
I won't convict people. Let me repeat. I know you look at your time. My circle extended time small. By your feelings or sentiment. Nobody that go to court say I feel that they messed up for me. That feeling you get to court again when how you feel about the person again when case. Evidence proven beyond reasonable doubt, especially in criminal case. That one can win case. That one can convict people. Let me repeat. I know you look at your time. My circle extended time small. Because me,
evidence, you listen to all the arguments that I read. That's why I took my time to read all these things, to tell you and give you a picture of what happened in the court. What they did not do, what they did. how the prosecution, fumbled, and how defense took advantage and capitalized on it, and what the juror felt wasn't convincing, and what they consider, and that's how we got here. But yeah, outside there, you say, oh, because you feel something to that rule, so the juror should just ignore the law and just go by your feeling and hold the man when your very government like accuse something to and every other person. And this is a big blow. I do not think this is outrightly, a slap or it kind of demoralizes the government's anti-corruption fight. No. Because the basis of this proceeding was flawed. So this is not a genuinely constructed, criminal prosecution. It was generally and emotionally, sentimentally developed and orchestrated political prosecution process that got nipped, and we cannot. So what this should tell the government is start to do things evidentially. Take your sentiment out of it, because for as long as this country will remain, running as a country of law, you cannot hold anybody, even in the Gracious Right case. I'm told there's a big slap coming for them again. You're going after people based on your campaign rhetorics. You're not even building sufficient case. So who told you that because during campaign time, Bouaka wanted to be president, and Stanton Waterspoon and Yeke Kolubane were saying all kinds of things? That means they were telling the truth. We were here educating you at that time, but you branded us and call us liars. Today, you see, some of us, we get nothing, but we feel proud of where we stood in history. And today, the facts are coming out. Because you all made it to look like we're ignorant, insensitive to what happening country. Whereby we were actually painstakingly following issues in the country and we're arguing in lines. Right? With what is right and what is wrong. When other people just believe that we should have just joined the bandwagon and just start making up. Thank God I need not in the history for those who peddle all those media propaganda and lies. Now it can be proven in court. 0776 104 104 086 500 104 plus 231 86 500 104. On this Monday, the government is walking the streets with bloody nose, disgrace, shame, and embarrassed to Samuel Toy. Right? You bring that man, you call them man, all kind of names. And now you go to court with the man. The man higher said the man going to run, you still going to be passing around. The man said, let's go to court. Go there. You can't prove nothing. Good morning. Let's hear you. What does this mean?
Yeah, Abu.
Morning.
Yeah, morning, Abu. How you doing, sir?
I'm okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Don Today. I'm calling from district number 12 this morning. You know, as you were reading, I just sitting, listening to you, Abu. The government, Abu, the people pump millions of dollars. Only they want their prostitutes to be prosecuted according to their own word or their own mind. Because they told them that the people that they say the government is involved, to take the money, they give it to take the money, he pay economy, not to take the money, we put it in account. Then talk what else was saying, all kinds of things here. Now, so to put the people to tell the people that what was saying is true, we just have coming up by also. So they wanted to have all costs to be convicted, so they can to say, oh yes, we're fighting corruption, you show the in the information. But the that's why it's a giant. They may bring a loan.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. From the diaspora, let's hear you.
Hey, good morning, Abu.
Morning.
This is Rodney. calling from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I just wanted to lay
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to lay this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the boy from the Montgomery ministry, he will not have the opportunity to use this scenario for Samuel and President we are in mess of the country. That's why we are still struggling to put things together, because that was his weakest line of their messed up government. They are in man. So just as you know, these guys are not shamed. They are shameless. They're still gonna go around trying to cover their shame. So they are not.
But how can they cover this? How can this cover this one up? Because if you read the code minutes,
you know, these guys gonna be like, we're gonna go to the Supreme Court because we have evidence. Listen, the guys are shameless. They're not gonna take this. They are not responsible to take the laws.
Under the law, the state can take appeal now. So how do we go to the Supreme Court?
But did you listen to Dillon yesterday? They're just going to come on another case.
Yeah, but let's see how they will do that.
In different form.
Yeah.
Exactly so. But I mean, you elected Dillon. Shameless man like him can come and say,
oh my God, you push your man off. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Abu.
Go ahead. You push your man off, but let's hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, Abu, this is Musa G. Brown, and I phoned in from New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
You see, Abu, Liberia, we need to stop certain things. We need to leave politics out of real issues.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start making, because what has happened in this investigation, in this prosecution, it means that Liberians have not stopped to sit down and look at their country, to move their country, to use people who got their country, who got the brain on the technical know-how to join hands and move our country forward. But instead, we want to bring them down, Abu. We want to bring them down. And this is what is happening in the Samuel Tuah case. Samuel Tuah is a genius and he is a brain for Liberia. But instead of tapping into that brain, we try to bring him down at all costs. Even people that will not make him, even people that will come to him for consultation, we want to bring him down. The same thing happening with President Weah. Look, let me tell you something, Abu. All of those that you can see causing President Weah and denigrating him are people that he helped.
So what does it mean for Mr. Tuah and the CDC?
This is a victory because you know why? All of this prosecution that was going on, the target, the main arrowhead was Samuel Tuah. Because let me refer you to the late, so rest in peace, the late chairman of the CDC. He and Samuel Tuah were on the talk show on Spoon on one day, and he said Tuah were going to be prosecuted because this was the mindset. This was what they sold to Joseph Walker. This is what they sold to the public. This is what they sold. But now it's coming to backlash at them. So they get angry. So you see a brother like Mo Ali, a young brother who I admire so much, instead of working for the people,
my man, Mo Ali is out clear. They think it's just a matter of time. People will start getting clear.
Sentiments. Sentiments must stop.
Thank you.
Sentiments must stop.
Thank you. Sentiments must stop, and of course the backbiting, and of course all these things have got to stop. Good morning, and the corruption must stop too. Good morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is David King, an executive of the Concerned Librarian for Justice.
Go ahead.
See, Abu, we share this thing in 2023. Librarian people, they're not listening. Today, I'm listening to Brother Waters' phone talking like in favor of what has happened for 12. But these were the people who were lying openly on people, calling their names. Okay? The people have thought that Samuel 12 was going to go to jail and remain there. The entire plan was to put McGill, Samuel 12, Inabono. People had a listing to put these people in there so that when we come to go to election, we'll have nobody to talk. It was all done because of political reason, not because somebody wanted justice or somebody wanted to claim what belonged to Liberia. But you have been proven by those jurors that Mr. Twe and the controller of the FIA were in no wrongdoing. They did not steal any money. No money was stolen, but it were all lies from people like Dillon, the Waterspoon, the Costa, and you name the rest of them.
So what that means for the CDC? It means all of the allegations or the issues about CDC or corrupt or stealing money, those are lies because your finance minister has been acquitted.
Yeah, it's a lie. But let me say this to you. Let me say this to you, Abu.
Mm-hmm.
It is. We don't have midterm election in this government, but this is our own midterm election. We are defeated the United Party by the judicial means of this country, show to them that whatever they say against the CDC, these were lies. Like President, we are saying we were moving ahead in the new era. Joseph Boakai has taken us back in the whole era. So Liberia people should wake up now and know that they failed rescue government going nowhere with a lie. Nothing was done here wrong. We're helping Liberia people. They have come to steal and they are stealing. And 2029, we got to change it and bring back the CDC. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see whether this one acquittal is enough to bring back the CDC. Good morning.
Good morning, veteran.
Morning.
This is the common chairman. I'm T1P Wali. I represent the concern Liberia for Justice.
Mm-hmm.
We don't go to court with political feelings. We don't go to court to please our political base after, gaining into chicanery and shenanigans. We go to court on the basis, on the backdrop of evidence and fact. Adjudication process deal with evidence and fact, not political feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went to get a nursing of your political feelings for the court, you're not going to get it. Because I will get wrong way back here, so this is a general to us the father minister on that panel, the national security. He did make sure those were his team. They were trying to bring a water verdict, but behind the scene, God being God punished them and gain their own father minister came.
Okay, and I'm going to go now. So, good morning. Oh my God, you coming far here. Morning.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Morning, go ahead.
This is Chief Moses Wakuri, and I'm calling you from Ralphia, we're resident.
Mm-hmm.
Abu, they come on Friday and Saturday. It was one of the peaceful day for citizen where we job and photo free and on my Liberia.
So how your rescue friend reaction or how the reaction in the community there?
The reaction in my community, my brother, it was just a Christmas. You could see everybody is happy. Everybody was rejoicing. Because when justice speak, and when you see on fight, the transparency, you can find out that people can get peace, people can get happiness. And I'm happy. Okay. We were really happy because the 6.2 million that equation, it was cornered. No, now we're happy for. But we're happy because the need to it that attached to former President John Manuel we are coming back in 2029 as a president. They wanted to spoil the man leave. You know what I mean? For somebody to be in gotcha, you're not kind of criminal landmark case. You will say, that Senator was taking the money, giving it to John Weah was taking the money, giving it to Dagi Apia, giving it to Pinabono. Oh,
that is the thing that they used to be saying. So that the reason you are happy or jubilating because
the reason we're happy because Senator have been vindicated and need a need of a former president Weah have been vindicated. And besides that, these people who are
Okay, we'll talk about the disappointment, but you use your time. Thank you. Let me take the last caller on this other phone. Good morning.
Good morning, Abu.
Morning.
I'm Steven. I'm still in from a 12th Street resident of the
Go ahead, Steven.
Abu, the folks are 16th Street, down 16th Street, West Summer 12 Reserve. We are very happy. We are just yesterday, I was going to share more that deal. And we'll move around the community to tell people of the community that Samuel 12 has been renegated. Samuel 12 is now a criminal. He is a free man. We'll bring him back in the community. We'll array with him in Synchro. Because we do believe in the city. We believe in the leadership of it. Thanks to Fulati Kofa, Councilor Fulati Kofa, he is ready to steer the affairs of the city on a different level. So people from the other party will come and challenge our leaders to not bring them back in 2029. They think it will go water.
Okay.
We'll bring our leaders back. We'll bring the legs of Samuel 12, the legs of Bill Tuere, the legs of Nakano McGill, and we'll carry on the octopus.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry I have to hold you there. Talking about bringing the people back. Nathaniel Fallow McGill has been making some big showing across the country. Political shakeups are already happening. And then this court ruling and this verdict, a non-guilty verdict for former Finance Minister Samuel D. Tuere, is a huge reward for the CDC and folks
when they were coming, they said
across the country are saying, "Oh, this is the moment to breathe a fresh air and get ready." Oh yes, we're released. Along lines, the government fumbles, the government crumbles, the government failed to prove all of the lies and allegations and stories about Samuel Tuere and the CDC folks. They say there is a war in the finance ministry. There is a war that goes down on the counter with black bear. How that kind of thing can even happen in our country? Man. How did we fall for the chicanery, innuendos? This too is Liberia, and this is how we like to bring the curtains down on this Monday morning edition, Monday morning presentation of the nation's premier breakfast conversation. Freedom Money Rise from Freedom 87.9. My name is Abu Sharif, and of course, it has been a very beautiful moment with you. Until we see you tomorrow, do have yourself a wonderful time from the nation's capital. Bye-bye.